Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Stock Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've got a big haul this week that covers these X-Men books. Now, some of this week's Spider-Man books, kicking things off with Amazing Spider-Man number 30. Where we left off, Dr. Octopus had kidnapped Norman Osborn and forcibly injected him with Goblin Serum. Meanwhile, Spider-Man had attempted to prevent Doc Ock's attack on Oscorp as well as Norman Osborn in general, and sadly failed, but was rescued by Doc Ock's old octopus arms, which Spider-Man has basically bonded to. And though, interestingly enough, utilizing the arms feels familiar to Peter. So, the issue opens with Doc Ock gloating over Osborn. Oh, I'm going to destroy this facade you created that you're actually a good person. And, by all means, let yourself go. Let the goblin out. And, well, Norman doesn't crack, explaining that he's been that maybe he since he became the Green Goblin not because of the serum, but because of the person he was. Adding that even if it was the serum, he's used it so much that it doesn't have. He had double the dose he was just given by Doc Ock in his body already. But Doc Ock doesn't entirely appreciate this and decides to beat on Norman a bit, while Spidey, now wearing Doc Ock's old arms after doing a paint job and as well as some additional modifications, goes to save Norman. However, Doc Ock admits defeat and that maybe even Norman outsmarted him. So he's going to kill Norman. But Spidey shows up with the arms, and somehow Doc Ock's new arms are actually listening to what Peter has to say. And Doc Ock notes that Spider-Man sounds like him. Realizing that, Peter's spine locked with the arms. Peter's stating that they'll truly see which of them is superior. They fight a bit and basically exchange the same insults to one another. But the arms begin to detach from Peter, basically saying, "Hey, save yourself." But Peter says, "No, him and the arms are together, and they're going to beat Doc Ock together." But while Doc Ock's been fighting Peter, he hasn't been paying attention to Norman. Norman pops him one, and Spider-Man manages to take down Doc Ock, and Norman talks him down from killing Doc Ock. And Peter goes, "Oh yeah, maybe we should get these arms off me." The arms might be a bad influence on him, but and Peter says that the arms are not exactly open to disconnecting from Peter, but Peter manages to talk to, it's like, hey, yeah, maybe they should go their separate ways. And Otto's used them both in the past, and when they get together, a little too much Otto shows up. They're not good for each other. But Peter adds, doesn't mean they aren't friends. But the Octoids managed to drag Doc Ock to safety. Norman, Peter, and the arms search the tunnels underneath the building, but well, no, there's no luck. The Otto's arms are currently staying with J. Jonah Jameson, and Norman says that, well, maybe what happened was actually maybe this whole misadventure with Doc Ock was a good thing, because it distracted Norman and Peter from Kamala. And Norman relates a story about how at one point Kamala got coffee for everyone, and as a not thinking, as a joke, probably not even thinking about it, brought Norman some, saying, extra serum, and ever since then, Norman would, if Kamala was going to get coffee, well, he jokingly said extra serum. But yeah, with Norman also brings up Raven. But Norman says that because Kamala was good, and good is so much more interesting than evil. Raven thought his evil made him a god, but it only made him blind. Nothing he said is worth pondering or repeating. But Kamala made Norman smile every time he had a coffee, and she brought down Raven's entire plan by saving one life. So maybe they can take their minds off all the evil for a moment, because, well, Norman's not sure it has that much power. In the height of Norman's madness, he thought the natural state of humanity was to exploit and abuse each other. But it seems that if two people spend enough time together, the much greater risk is that they will become friends. With Peter adding, he guesses it helps that one of those people is Kamala Khan. And that is where the issue ends. Good story. Really good. I like the story. It was fun. And yeah, I think it was definitely something readers needed after the Raven story ended. Amusing timing as well. Yeah, Kamala's back. Yay! Thanks to Krakoa. But yeah, moving on though to our next book, we've got Cult of Carnage Misery #3. Where we left off, Liz Allen, wearing the Misery symbiote, was in the clutches of former Alchemax employee Corwin Jones, who had been contracted by the Life Foundation to steal the various symbiotes Alchemax had. But Jones bonded all the symbiotes, becoming Madness. Symbiotes in question being Riot, Phage, Agony, Lasher, Scream, and Toxin, which is rather interesting for reasons we'll see later. Taking on the name Madness. We open with Spearhead being the Alchemax operative Spearhead at Jones' apartment, not finding anything, but there's a doll recording. Though Spider-Man pulls the doll's head off and wonders aloud where the doll came from. Earlier, Liz dukes it out with Madness, making fun of him for his doll collection, though Madness points out that it's a threat no one sees coming. But she attempts to use the anti-venom symbiote, of which Misery is derived, to disrupt Madness. And while it works, it only does so briefly. And Madness imagines that there must be such secrets within Liz, and literally rips her apart. Before she can heal, he has some of his drones freeze the pieces, and gets in touch with his employers, the Life Foundation. While Spider-Man is riding on what appears to be a military hovercraft, and giving updates to Norman about what's going on, because, well, Liz is his daughter-in-law. The chimpanzee with the other part of the Misery symbiote suggests that Dr. Steven from Alchemax free him so that he can track down Misery to save her. But the hovercraft that Spearhead is on, as well as Spider-Man, is attacked by drones from the Life Foundation. Spearhead exits the hovercraft to fight them off, hoping they'll be attracted more to him than the ship. And, well, Spider-Man manages to kind of web them all together, make a network of webbing. And makes it clear he's there to help. The Life Foundation is doing some experimentation, basically taking the various symbiotes and bonding them with cyborgs, calling them symbiotex. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded woman rescues Liz Allen. As for who this hooded woman is, well, that's not entirely clear. And while a guess can be made from one of the books we'll be looking at later, I'm not entirely convinced. That is where, however, the issue ends. I'm enjoying this miniseries. I know it's setting up the whole Death of the Venomverse, Summer of Symbiote. Well, it's part of the Summer of Symbiotes, I guess. But yeah, I do enjoy a good symbiote storyline. So you know. Moving on though to our next book, we've got Hallow's Eve #5, wrapping up the miniseries. Where we left off, in an attempt to at least somewhat bring down the Beyond Corporation, or at least prevent them from experimenting on her victim, who had become a werewolf, Simon. Janine Godby had ended up pissing off Maxine Danger and dropping her bag of masks. And so Maxine and various members of the security team put on the masks, various masks. This included appears to be a shark mask, but the masks are rather confusing for the various Beyond security goons. Janine makes a point of gathering up the masks. However, one's missing, the werewolf mask, which Janine has. She runs inside the building and puts it on. But Billy's defenses pop out. Janine puts on the witch mask and creates a force field around her and a handful of them and everyone else on the street. But that force field is still letting in. Everyone can hear the sound, but it's not affecting them. Majority of the issue is Janine and Maxine fighting. Throughout the fight, Janine switches up various masks, while Simon and Marcus go into the building, and with the intention of turning off the sonic emitters, which they managed to do. Janine notes that Maxine took to the werewolf mask incredibly well, but she's still able to knock Maxine out and remove the mask. Then going invisible and basically picking up all the remaining masks before they can be snatched up by anyone else. She attempts to talk with Detective Sebbins, but Sebbins as Officer Riley, but Sebbins is aware that there is no Officer Riley, and so Janine ghosts out of there. A week later, she, with the ghost mask on, checks in on Simon, seeing him and his family happy together, and then heads to the Limbo Embassy. Apparently, Janine's exploits with the mask have been all over the news, and Janine asks if Madeline wants them back. She doesn't, at least not yet. But Janine goes to see Ben. Who is okay with accepting of her of the fact that she hadn't come to visit. But apparently Janine has a plan to get him out of the Limbo Embassy, and that is where the series ends. Hallow's Eve will be popping up once again in the Amazing Spider-Man annual, as well as in a Halloween themed and timed one-shot called Hallow's Eve: The Big Night. This was a fun series. I'm glad that we're getting more of the Hallow's Eve character, as she didn't really get to do much in Dark Web, even with tie-ins and so on and so forth. She did a few minor things, but she could have been a much larger part of the whole thing, but she wasn't. So yeah. Moving on though to our next book, we've got Venom #23. This is seem to be beginning a new arc. I think we opened with a flashback to a week previously. Venom and Toxin duke it out, but they calm down. Toxin's out. Toxin's host, a young boy named Bren, whose father works for is a guardsman working for Alchemax, thinks that something's up with something's going on with his dad. He's done some investigating himself. Alchemax is also investigating. Well, Alchemax is investigating with a grudge against them, including Venom. But the people are the missing people are Alchemax employees, and Bren thinks his father's next. And Dylan wants if Bren will help. In the present, Bren gets a call from his father. Everything's okay, nothing to worry about, just working late. But Toxin lets Venom know what's going on via the hive mind. The two of them meet up. Masked Man is apparently torturing a former Alchemax employee, presumably to death. But apparently this guy lost his son, which relates to Bren. But he, rather than talking about how great his son was, like he was, he was just a kid, but he was my kid. But Venom and Toxin take the guy down. However, as they do, he drops a grenade. The place is rigged with explosives, and so Venom and Toxin do what they can to get everyone out, namely a bunch of children, who then all of whom claim they're no one, much like their captor had. And then there's a message from their captor, explaining that he can't be killed because he and others like him are nothing. He is no one. And this was just the beginning. Which means that none of this is truly over. The next morning, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, is investigating the site of the explosion, but something whispers to her, seemingly saying, "Hello." And Natasha whispers back. And asks if Cecilia wants to come with her. Yeah, it does seem like the hooded woman that saved Liz Allen and called him Carnage Misery may have been Black Widow. The only thing that makes it maybe it wasn't is that the one who saved Liz Allen was blonde and not a redhead. But if she has a symbiote, that could be, that hair color could be altered if need be. But that is where the issue ends. All right, interesting. I'm not sure if this is the start of a new creative team. Seeing as how neither Al Ewing or Ram V is writing, but rather Torun Grunbeck, who recently finished up the most recent Thor run. But we'll see, I guess. Moving on, though, to our last one for the moment, we've got Spider-Man India #2. Where we left off, the Lizard had become the Lizard and was on the loose. And the massive corporation Jericorp was initiating a smear campaign using its media arm in order to get the people in Spider-Man's neighborhood to move so that Jericorp can buy the neighborhood and erect a big building there. But while swinging through, Spider-Man sees some kids playing Spider-Man, and asks if there's been a big scary lizard dinosaur monster in a lab coat. But Spider-Man finds the lizard. They duke it out. The head of Jericorp has got a bunch of masked vandals wearing bandanas that are similar in design to the webbing, the red and black web look of Spider-Man's costume. Basically sending that out into Spider-Man's neighborhood to cause trouble. They attack a kid, and Spider-Man's Aunt Maya pushes him out of the way. While all this is going on, Spider-Man's dealing with the lizards throughout town, but more chirps are coming up about how Spider-Man is bad for the neighborhood, and they're getting a lot of traction. Maya brings the kid dressed as Spider-Man back to his parents, but well, they're buying into the whole "oh yeah, Spider-Man's a menace" narrative. The masked goons try to get Spider-Man to leave, and well, Spider-Man swings off. The head of Jericorp wants to speak with the woman responsible for who's leading the charge on the Spider-Man smear campaign. Not the person actually, basically the person actually writing the tweets, the chirps. Spider-Man has his Spider-Man No More moment, opting to help his community in other ways, feeding people, helping with construction, and doing so as himself, as Puppeteer, not Spider-Man. However, the Lizard is somewhere underground. The Lizard is rebuilding his lab and just needs to get Spider-Man, and he can. After that, he'll be unstoppable. That is where the issue ends. This is a fun story. It's a fun little miniseries so far. I dig it. But as I constantly point out, I do love me a good multiverse story. So, anyways, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Big shout out to Patreon patron Xander Lee. Thank you so much for your support. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.